I may be a little late to the party, but I just finished watching Reckoning on Netflix. It's a limited crime series with a lot of misdirection. But is it as clever as it believes it is? A serial killer is back in action after being dormant for a number of years, and the detective obsessed with solving the case finds him now sucked right back into the mystery. Reckoning stars Aidan Young as Detective Mike Serrato and Sam Trammell as Leo Doyle, who is a school guidance counselor for the local high school. First off, the show does a really good job at throwing in a lot of red herrings and misdirection, which can help cause a lot of doubt even though you're pretty much sure you know who the perpetrator is. You actually may be dead on in your guess, but they throw enough curveballs in there to make you doubt yourself at points. Now, the show circles around a serial killer who leaves his victims on the riverbank of a Northern California coastal town. And there's a unique feature to his crimes, creating this special signature that only he does, which ties him to all of his crimes. But that also then allows for a little bit of the misdirection and our assumptions. Now, in this, there are a ton of blurry flashbacks and maybe even some true recurrences of memory. A lot of the time, they're very indistinct and they're hard to really determine what's going on. I mean, we see flashes, we see glimpses, and then we definitely see some parts play out. But again, we don't really know, is this a dream state? Is this a real memory? Is this actually happening right now? And that's good because otherwise, I think we'd know right from the very beginning who it was and what was going on. Now, that's also not to say that I would hate that if they did, because I've seen a lot of series where we know who the perpetrator is right at the very beginning, and then the best part of the story comes from the chase, the cat and mouse game. But that's not how they do this in this. We don't know who it is right from the very beginning. At least we may not be sure who it is right from the very beginning. Now, there are a lot of sequences the detective goes through, and honestly, they get a bit tiresome. There is a lot of just this kind of like that flashback that I was talking about, but it seems overused. It becomes a crutch to the storytelling, where I didn't mind at certain times because it really did add a level of unsuredness. Is that a word? I wasn't able to trust what I was seeing on screen, and I liked that because that then provided a lot of doubt for me as I'm watching the story and trying to figure out who it really is that is committing these crimes. But I think what then ends up happening in this show is they use it so often that it just becomes kind of rote, and it adds just a lot more time to the show where it didn't need to really be that way. There are 10 episodes and they're all under an hour, but really it could have been trimmed down to 9 or maybe even 8 episodes. There's a lot of drama that goes on. There's a lot of peripheral stuff also happening that sometimes ties a little bit back into the story, but not always. And some of them are, you can see how they make the arc and it really does work and it ties back in. And other ones, it's only there to cause a little bit of misdirection or to just add a little bit more drama to the thing. And I'm not sure it really needed it because in the end, it was adding a whole lot more time and not necessarily moving the story towards our goal. I do like though how we get to see how these crimes and the case itself are affecting a lot of different people. I mean, it really does touch a bunch of different people in a bunch of different ways. And then you get to watch them try and navigate through this, which then also leads to a lot of brooding and some melodrama that I probably could have done without for some of it. I mean, some of it works, some of it's fitting, and others is just a little laughable too, where it's like, oh my gosh, you are just over the top at this point. You need to just settle down. You're up here, I need you to bring it down to a 2. I gotta say, our 2 main actors, they're kind of hard to like. Aidan Young is mumbling and he's kind of depressed the entire time, or he's brooding. He's definitely moody. And while some of that totally fits, other parts of it, he looks like he's on the verge of tears all the time. And I don't know, is that out of frustration? Is that out of just all of the circumstances in your life? Are you just on the verge of a nervous breakdown? What's going on? It also then made him very abrasive to a lot of people, which then became abrasive to me as the viewer and became very hard to sympathize with him as he's going along in this case. Sam Trammell is a little less brooding, but he's also got this weird air about him, which makes it hard to like him all the time too. Now, sometimes I'm just not endeared to him at all. Sometimes he is abrasive, but other times I did find him charming at points. And I think that goes to part of the story as well, that it's trying to throw us off, that it's trying to just weave all of this misdirection into all of the characters so that we have to question who we really believe is perpetrating the crimes. The scenery of the show is great to look at. Like I said, it's a coastal town, which gives it this small town type of feel, this quaintness to it, but it's also in direct contrast to all of the events that are going on. This is a nice, safe place to live because look, we're a small town. It's, we're by the coast. It's beautiful, it's relaxing, it's peaceful, and yet there's this very dark underbelly of a case that's going on. And I like that. It's don't judge a book by its cover, which plays into a lot of the characters as well. Now you might get annoyed at some of the parts of the story which are obvious. I did, but I was also intrigued enough to second guess myself on parts. And I think I was secretly wishing that some of the obvious parts were part of the misdirection. And some of it was. Overall, it's a half-decent and fun watch for a limited series mystery. The pace does drag a little in places, but the intrigue is fun. There's sex, nudity, a lot of profanity, and a lot of disturbing violence. I give Reckoning 3 out of 5 couches. So are there any good mysteries that you're watching right now? Please give me some suggestions in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.